In the United States, every year, about 33,000 people die from opioid use. This is an epidemic, especially in New Mexico.
This is hitting everyone across the entire spectrum of society, and that no one is immune, and so we all need to work on it together.
It's a terminal disease. You know, this population has a higher death rate than many of our other diseases in a short period of time.
We have to take care of our community. That's the most important thing.
I saw a young mother, and I was kind of skeptical. I did it because, you know, I got the certification. I was interested in really kind of the physiology, and I really hadn't grasped the human cost until it was really staring me in the face. And I saw her, I treated her, and then she kind of disappeared, and then she came back. She had moved away, and then had come back to Albuquerque after kind of getting her life together. And during the process of kind of getting her reintegrated, she had a relapse, and she essentially had died. Fortunately, she did have naltrexone, and her family resuscitated her, and she suffered no brain damage. She was extremely lucky, and she did come back, and I did start treatment, and she just told me, and she was crying, and she said, "Look, if you had not seen me and restarted the treatment, I'd be dead." And then I realized there's no way I cannot help these folks. And she's a young mother. She would have orphaned 2 children. And that to me is like, my God, we've got to get out there and start saving lives.
Substance use disorders have increased year by year over the last number of decades. And the 3 biggest at this point are tobacco use disorders, alcohol use disorders, and opioid use disorders. The problem with opioids, and one of the reasons why people are so focused on it right now, is that they tend to cause death quickly. New Mexico is a leader in substance use related outcomes. So for example, we have the worst alcohol-related mortality, liver disease, and we also traditionally have been one of the leaders in opioid-related deaths. We are, at this point, in 2017, no longer at the head of the list, but that is because other places in the country have become worse with regards to their opioid outcomes, not because we've necessarily gotten better.
This is hitting everyone across the entire spectrum of society, their mothers and their fathers, sisters and brothers.
At one point as a young physician, it was kind of academic, but as you go through life with friends and family and people you know personally, and you open your eyes, it's really everywhere and affects all social strata. And none of us are immune.
The intent of this video is really to help providers at Presbyterian understand that you are supported and expected to address substance use disorders in our patients. That our system is here to provide you with the education and the guidance, as well as, again, the expectation that you do the best version of this work. That we acknowledge at Presbyterian that the treatment of substance use disorders is not specific to any specialty or any number of specialties. This is part of the human condition, and it's really something that all of us, no matter what area of medicine we work in, need to be involved in.
We have to see addiction as a medical illness, just like diabetes. Addiction is not a moral failure or a bad personality trait or whatever it may be, that it really is a disease, and we need to treat that disease just like we treat people with diabetes and CVAs and heart disease.
The idea that substance use disorders are chronic diseases and fit in the chronic disease model was really cemented by a beautiful study. And really what it showed is that there's a large genetic component, and then there's also a large behavioral component. What it also showed, for example, is that diabetes and hypertension and substance use disorders have almost the same relapse rates in terms of people responding to treatment and then not participating in treatment as much. So it really underscores this point that this is a chronic disease. It fits well within the chronic disease model, and it's not much different than other chronic diseases that we all treat and that we feel that we should address in all patients.
All patients have a story, and this story, for whether people have mental illness or addiction or chronic pain, this story often includes things like poverty, chances that go missed in their lives. And I think when you talk to your patients about those issues, you can find a compassion in yourself to take care of these patients without having that stigma there of addiction and without thinking that these people have failed somehow.
A lot of them will say they've hit rock bottom. A lot of them will say that they really don't know where to go, or they've cut all ties, or people have, all bridges have been demolished. They burned a lot of bridges. Whatever it may be, it's the fact that they actually want the help. It's the fact that they are actually in a roundabout way reaching out their hand and saying, can you just pick me up? Can you, help dust them off a little bit? And not only that, but plant seeds of hope.
As a physician, I almost would say, how can you not treat folks who need help?
What I ask of other healthcare providers is to have the courage to address substance use disorders in their patients, to commit to their oaths to actually help people in this very fundamental way, and to not give themselves permission to say that somebody else will do this, that this is a specialty that I'm ill-prepared for, because none of us can do that any longer. This is an epidemic, especially in New Mexico. It's really specialized information or knowledge is not necessary. The steps to take to treat substance use disorders are known, and we are trying to promote those as widely as possible. And it's not difficult work. It sometimes takes a little bit more time, but not a lot of time. And if we really want to help our patients heal from their surgeries, if we want to help their diabetes get better, their hypertension come under control, if we want them to have a safe delivery, we need to address their substance use. And just like all of us can ask about tobacco use, all of us can ask about alcohol use, all of us can ask about opioid use and methamphetamine use. So what I ask is really a challenge. I challenge every healthcare provider to cultivate their own curiosity about what it must be like to live with a substance use disorder for their patient, and to challenge themselves by asking, how can I help this patient? Not how can I refer them on, but how can I help them? And when that help isn't doing enough, then absolutely refer them on. And let's collaborate and really figure out a plan that's best for that patient.
For every dollar we invest in treating someone for substance abuse, the judicial system alone saves $7. When you start looking at healthcare costs, you're talking $12. So from a purely economic standpoint, the return is tremendous.
This is actually joy-filled work. I'm energized by being able to meet my patients where they are and really work collaboratively, not assuming the responsibility at all for their decisions about their life, but really being able to mentor and guide them in a way that they are receptive to because it's done with respect.
I don't know that there's any other organization, group, affiliation, anything like that in our entire state that has the leverage and the skills and the right people in the right place to make the impact that we can make for our entire population. This is a game changer for Presbyterian and thus for the state of New Mexico.